Hey guys, so we just got a new balance patch. We got some crazy notes for this. A lot of pretty big significant changes to RTA meta, as well as they seem to have touched a lot of units that people either consider really bad or, not the greatest. I'd rather use blank. So let's just get right into it. Right at the start here, we have Artamiel. So Artamiel has been nerfed. They've dropped his attack bar increase on the passive from 15% to 10%. Well, it's only 5%, but I think it's going to be pretty significant, right? The amount of times you have to crit per turn to get to 100% is going to be way more notable now at 10 than 15. The change to the defense increase, making it from 20% times 5 to 10% times 10. I think this is significant enough to players who take the approach of trying to one-shot units. So if you're someone like me who likes the Perna into the Vanessa into Perna combination or anything like that, this is somewhat significant because 10% less defense bonus, so more chance to kill, higher damage output. Overall, I think it's a step in the right direction. I would have liked if they had just reduced the defense scaling total to 75%, which would be 15 times 5. However, I'm not upset with what they've done. I think that the direction is good. The next one would be Vivishal. So Vivishal has always been a very crazy unit to some people. The big thing with her Song of Switch Destiny, being able to use on an ally or an enemy. If you move after an enemy, you can basically one-shot them. If you skill 3 and then you violent, or you skill 3 and someone moves, they just die. Unless they have an immediate heal or some sort of protection, they're just going to die. So I think it's great that they kind of went with this tableau approach. So they gave her a 1-turn sleep that can't be resisted and ignores immunity. So you are like guaranteed to go to sleep. I think it's great. I think it still has ways to play around it that are effective, right? You can, hit someone for like a counter, you can do damage, you can hurt your own team, etc., depending on what you want to go for. But I think it is a step in the right direction. Again, I think it's more fair, but it's not a serious nerf to the point where she's like unusable. We're not giving units to like the Leica treatment. So for the Fairy Queen, for Fran, I'm just going to go into the bottom one here where it says Awakened. So we're just going to go right into here because I don't really think it's relevant to talk about the non-awakened form. So before, it was attacks the enemy 3 times with a Whirling Storm of Light. Each attack has 20% chance to weaken the attack power, which is notably higher with skill ups, for 2 turns. Additionally, the third attack has a 20% chance to stun the target. So now how they've changed it is that each attack has a 20% chance to weaken the attack power and reduce attack bar by 10%. So they've entirely removed the stun mechanic, which I think is totally fair. Fran was totally imbalanced before. Her skill 1 was the best skill 1 in the game. Nothing even came close. So removing that stun, keeping the attack break, and then giving her some other utility still makes her a strong option, very usable. And her kit overall is still great. I mean, we're going to see her in RTA all the time anyways. The next change we see is to the Valkyrie, Light, Achroma. We see a passive change. So the chance of allies receiving a critical hit is reduced by 15%, now 30%. RTA, insignificant. Arena, I think it's going to be very significant on arena defense. Changing it from 15 to 30 makes lutioning as well as cleaving a lot harder, a lot more inconsistent. So that paired with like a Molly or something is going to be really strong. Overall, though, no change to Guild Wars, no change to RTA, no real relevant change. Be nice if they added something else to her, but for now, we get what we get. So Asima. Notice how a lot of Elena vibes actually got changed here. 2 nerfs, 2 buffs here. So Asima Crumble, which is her 3rd skill, effect added, increases your attack bar by 10% per continuous damage granted on the enemies after the attack. So to start with this, the harmful effect rate isn't crazy, so it's not like she's guaranteed to get an immediate 2nd turn. Overall, it's good. It does give her the opportunity to go defense break into her 2nd skill. However, the main issue with Asima still is her 2nd skill. Her 2nd skill is just very weak. I do appreciate that they are trying to give her something, but I don't feel like it will be overly significant. She will be better as a turn 2 unit, kind of similar how people use Rocky AoE defense break into the single target nuke. I think that Asima will definitely be better. However, I don't think that it's a, oh my god, this unit's OP now kind of buff. So moving on from that, we have Sidon. So Poseidon's 3rd skill is now going to scale off damage and speed, to which also, I'm going to jump ahead, but they have changed his type. So his base stats will now be attack type. So he'll make more sense as a unit. He'll do more damage. He's a good option. He's going to be a good option. Moving on, we have Daphnis. Daphnis, everyone's favorite topic. Buff Daphnis, nerf Daphnis. Daphnis now will weaken the enemy's defense for 1 turn if you successfully remove the beneficial effect. So if you strip, you will defense break and then hit, which is awesome. Well, so you'll strip, defense break, do the guaranteed damage, and then hit. So this is actually a pretty significant buff to Daphnis. Daphnis could actually output a ton of damage now. So looking forward to seeing him. I know Obabo uses Daphnis, and there's a couple other players who have some pretty strong Daphnis, Barian included. I'm really excited to see what happens with that and who will be using it. I kind of wish I had one myself so I could test it, but you know, 3 Samoths. Besides that, we see Sekhmet. So the Sekhmet change is nice, but I don't think it tackles her main issue. Her main issue being if she misses, she kind of doesn't do a lot. So it is nice that they tackled that issue a little bit, but I'm not sure if it's significant enough to make her a better option now. So what they added was they added an effect to her 3rd skill. If the skill didn't set the enemy's skills on max cooldown time, the cooldown time of the skill will reset. So the cool thing about this is it's basically if you miss the strip, you're not totally punished. And it's also if you miss the reset, you're also given the bonus. So like if you strip and miss the reset, you get it back, right? Problem here being after your first turn, you lose will. So you can be reset immediately. You can be stunned. You can be CC'd, etc. What I kind of wanted was an irresistible strip, not the irresistible reset, of course. I think that would be a little bit too strong. But, you know, giving that guaranteed strip would make her a lot more viable as a unit. I'm not upset about what they did. Overall, I think this is, again, Comto is trying to make those steps in the right direction. So I hope that it works out well. I do have a Sekhmet. I could build her. So maybe we'll see if this is, you know, the answer. I'm not sure how I feel about the Wind Monkey King one. So the Wind Monkey King passive is they increased the damage mitigation by 10%. So it's gone from 25% to 30%, 35%. And now they've increased his counterattack chance by 10% from 25 to 30. It's kind of nice. It is going to be a buff for those JP players, the Japanese server players who run those really tanky immunity resist teams. I know they do pick the Wind Monkey King every once in a while. It might be significant enough as a buff for like Guild Wars and Siege to make him less copperable, less dozerable. But overall, I'm not quite sure if it's really enough. For Louise, the Wind Paladin, everyone's always been complaining, oh, you know, why would I use Louise? I have Praha or I have Ariel, you know. The nice thing now with Louise is her Divine Wind grants immunities on the allies who have full HP for 2 turns. And they changed the HP recovery amount and the shield HP from 25% to 20. So they lowered it a tiny little bit, but they also gave her the potential to give immunity. So if she moves first, or if she's early, or if she heals, etc. All right, so now it's no longer just like a wasted heal. Nice thing that they added with Bearing. Effect added removes 1 beneficial effect on all enemies. So if the enemy only has will, depending on the order, you may be able to strip into silence, which is pretty cool since he was given out as HOH. Something I noticed here with Julie, the damage increases by 50% for each beneficial effect on the enemy. So if the enemy has will and you didn't plan for that, you can still do a little bit more damage. If they have shield will, you'll do even more. But I think the main focus on this is actually the possibility of using her. I want to say that's the possibility of using her more in Arena and possibly in Dragons. So I know it's only the 3rd skill, so that's why I'm leaning more towards like the Arena feel. If the enemy has will, you use like a Julie Lucian or something, right? Like you have a double Nemesis will Praha. You'll still do a little bit more damage. You're most likely not going to proc enough Nem for her. And then there's actually a change to a lot of the Cowgirls. So I don't think most of them are going to be super relevant, but we're going to go over all of them anyways. So the Fire one, Explosive Bullet, previously attacks the enemy with an Explosive Bullet, stuns with 50% chance. Now it attacks the enemy and stuns with a 50% chance. Afterwards, it attacks all enemies and has a chance to stun them with a 50% chance. So it is a buff. However, I think because of the base stats and the acquirability, I don't see people often using or even considering to build the Cowgirls. It is nice that the Silver-Plated Bullet change, a small increase in harmful effect rate for beneficial effect removing. I do really like what they did with Lauren, though. They increased Lauren's defense break chance, and they doubled her attack bar reduction chance. So I think that's really good. It's going to make her more viable as that kind of like Hua-esque replacement for different things. I'd be interested to see if we see her more in R5 for like the kind of starting teams, you know, the people who don't quite have like KB5 teams, etc. And then for Defeat Wild Dog, which is the Fire, Water, and Dark second skill, critical hit activation chance from 30%, and it now removes beneficial effects with a 50% chance. And then for the Dark one, Devil's Bullet, which was the one given from the event, which we can now buy from Ancient Coin Shop. Critical hit activation chance now increases your critical damage by 50% when you land a critical hit. So trying to make her a little more damage focused if she's relevant. But overall, I don't think there's going to be much here except for Lauren. I think Lauren's going to be great. Moving on from this, we actually have more than just skills changed this patch, which is not super common. But the awakening effects of a couple units have been changed. So Light Panda actually gets a massive buff here. So prior to Light Panda, you know, after their big nerf, Light Panda Molong, kind of useless. The occasional Molong pick here and there, but Light Panda really, really weak, just the passive. So what they've done now is they've removed his 25% accuracy awakening. And they have strengthened his Dragon's Dance, which is the second skill. So if I'm reading this correctly, attacks all enemies 3 times to inflict damage that increases according to your max HP. The first attack removes 2 beneficial effects. Because there is no percentage there afterwards, I want to say it's 100% harmful effect rate to remove 2 buffs. If it is, that's a massive buff. The second attack decreases the attack bar by 15%. Pretty fair. And the third attack stuns them for 1 turn with a 25% chance each. So I don't think that it's going to be that 100% chance. I think each attack gets 25% chance plus the skill ups. So it's going to be like kind of a hybrid between old Dragon's Dance and new Dragon Dance, or what I thought it was going to be. So with skill ups, I believe it goes up to 40%. So 40% chance to remove 2 buffs, 40% chance to remove attack or to reduce attack bar, 40% chance to stun. On a light unit, not bad. It's still going to be kind of unreliable, but it definitely makes him a better choice, especially knowing that before he was terrible, right? They nerfed him into the floor. Moving on from that, though, we have Triton. So Triton has always been this unit where people are like, oh, why would I build Triton? You know, Chiwu is speed lead, or, you know, Tiana obviously is the best pick. So what they've done with Triton is instead of keeping his accuracy awakening, they've actually given him a speed awakening. So I believe Triton is 100 or 101 base. Now we're going to see 115 or 116 speed Tritons. In terms of changes, I think this will be really, really good for RTA. People who use Triton, Violent Triton is going to be a very viable option now. Despair Triton is going to be way more viable. Before it was just, you know, run Swift Triton unless you had like Nyx or something. So Triton, I think, is going to be awesome. I'm excited to see him a lot more. Kind of wish I had one. But, you know, now he'll rival with Woundsaw, having that base speed awakening. So excited to see that. Some leader skills have been changed as well. Small changes to Josephine and Jean. Josephine is now a global lead for accuracy, 41%, and Jean is now a global resistance lead for 41%. So as much as I don't like Josephine because she's crazy and her passive is what I consider oppressive, I do think that this is a good change for her because it makes sense for her kit, right? Josephine's main usage is not in guilds, it is an RTA. So having this kind of option is very good for her. With Jean, I do like that it reduces it by 14%, so it's a little bit less oppressive in Guild Wars. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. I mean, two rolls on a piece of gear is, or on a rune is not necessarily a piece of gear. Too much Epic 7, sorry guys. Two rolls of resistance on a rune is not necessarily a big deal. It does end up lowering the stats overall if they're still shooting for 100, but makes her more usable in other places as well. Besides that, we already talked about the Water Sea Emperor here. And I don't think there's much else besides these skill errors being resolved. Somebody told me that this was bugged, fixed an issue of the certain number of turns of beneficial effects granted on a monster not decreasing under certain conditions. Someone told me that it was bugged and that it broke KB5. However, I haven't had the chance to test it yet. My power's been out for like 11, 12 hours. My internet's still down. I'm probably going to try to go record this and upload it at my uncle's house. But if there is anything wrong with KB5, you know, with that specifically, please leave a comment below. I would love to know about it since I can't necessarily check myself. But besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed the patch note review. I really am passionately playing the game again. I'm trying to improve, trying to get that G3. So I really do like the steps that Comptos has taken towards the game in balancing both units that are overly oppressive, as well as trying to bring new units to light. You know, units that we've always sat here and been like, wow, this unit sucks, nobody uses it. You know, now we're in a position where it's like, hey, maybe I should build that. Like that might actually be good enough. Yeah. I think I'm gonna build my Sekhmet. So if you want to see it, come let me know on my stream. Besides that, if you guys have any comments or concerns, etc., please leave a comment below, and I will see you guys another time. Thank you.